have a mixed media project for you this week. It's one I'm really excited about. I created a canvas a couple of years ago for my son, kind of a scrapbook mixed media layout, and I loved it so much that I wanted to do one for my daughter. She was born about 6 months ago, so I'm not too far behind, but it was time that I did it. So I printed off a couple of her baby photos and decided to make this canvas. There's a lot of elements that I'm going to be using from different brands in here, so I'm going to try to do my best to put them all in the description so you can find them easily. So I had a basic idea of the layout, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do for the background. So I ended up doing things a little bit out of order because I decided to put down a little washi tape after this, which I should have done before I used the stencil, but it is what it is. And I still really like the background. So it didn't detract, I don't think, in any way. But I did have to avoid the places where the stencil was on the canvas because I didn't want the washi tape bubbling over it at all. So I'm creating this background that I just wanted to be all text pretty much. And I wanted it to be kind of faded, so it's not the first thing you notice. I didn't want the canvas to be too busy. So once I put all of the washi tape, tissue wrap elements down, I whitewashed it with gesso to kind of help it to fade into the background a little bit and to make the main part of the canvas stand out a lot more. I use gel medium as a glue for all of these elements as well. It works perfectly for thin papers to collage with. It works for thicker elements like I'm going to be using later on, like a lot of thicker chipboard gears and things like that. It works great for those too. It dries clear and it's very strong. So I definitely recommend using it for any of your projects if you're going to be doing mixed media like this. Just a quick word while I'm finishing this up. Memberships are live now on my channel, so I've put a link in the description to where you can join. You can read about the different perks and the different tiers with membership. There's a $1.99 a month tier, and a $9.99 a month tier, and a $19.99 a month tier. So you get exclusive perks and content with each one. So I hope that you can join me so we can connect live and in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you. So this is a couple layers of white gesso. The colors that I picked for my daughter for her nursery and everything were purple and like a mint green kind of teal color. So those are the main colors I'm going to be using for this canvas. I'm starting off with purple as like the big background color. And I love how the paint kind of spreads around the stenciled text and makes that element really stand out. This is just watered down acrylic paint. I love paint splatters. I think I put them in every single mixed media project that I do. They can be a little unpredictable though, so I try to remember to cover the parts I don't want to be splattered. Now this is Creative Embellishments chipboard gears and Finnabair rust paste. Her rust pastes are really great. It's a series of different colors with different. They're all acrylic based, but like the red rust that I'm using right now actually has kind of a grit to it, so it's more three-dimensional. You can pile it up into certain areas. Where the brass paste that I'm going to be using here on this plastic wrap is just kind of more like an acrylic paint. It doesn't have any grit or anything to it. Now I'm trying to make these gears as rusty as I can, so I'm just adding elements of different colors, different patinas to the gears. So I'm using kind of the brown of the chipboard itself, but then the rust paste, and then the gold, and then I'm adding a little bit of this the teal patina to make it look more coppery, have a coppery kind of patina to it. And because I want the teal to be on the canvas to match, go with the purple. Arranging things on the canvas, that's always my favorite part. Sometimes it can take me a while. But I also love taking things off of the canvas. So having elements like these gears and being able to kind of break the boundaries of this 12 by 12 canvas is one of my favorite things about doing mixed media pieces like this. Now these elements are using a Finnabair mold. There's a bunch of gears and wings and screw heads and all kinds of cool things. Um, and they're great molds. I used probably a bad uh, supply to put the molds in. I have Sculpted mold. It's like a paper clay that I got years and years ago when I first started doing mixed media. And it's good for some things. It's an interesting thing to work with. It's essentially a paper pulp that you add water to, but it can be really lumpy and uh, not and kind of difficult to work with. Um, I added them to the molds and they worked pretty well, but the lumpiness made it hard to get a really good impression from the molds. So some of the gears and the wings, you'll see there's some holes in them. There's some edges that are missing. And I also had to sand down the bottom because I wasn't able to really get a good clean flat finish once when I put them into the molds. So I had to sand them down after the fact to be able to get a nice flat bottom to them. So working on these elements took me a long time because there were a lot of little ones, big ones, little ones, and they all needed to be sanded and painted. And and finished, especially those holes. I had to go through and poke all those holes out, and I had to be really careful with some of them because the thinner edges are easily breakable with this paper clay. So I had to be really careful not to put too much pressure on them. So in painting them, I'm just layering several colors. I'm starting with the dark and kind of working my way up to the lighter browns and the golds and then the copper teal patina. Normally when I do canvases like this, I use a lot of paper. Um, I use a lot of paper in my scrapbook layouts, and I tend to kind of bring that into these canvases. But for this one, I thought about using paper. In fact, I was bringing it out and trying to find a good fit, but none of it really worked, and I didn't really like any of the results. So I decided to just kind of leave the paper alone. And so I'm just using a chipboard mats to for my pictures. So letting those dry flat. I didn't want the paper to curl or the photos to curl up at all, so I always like to weight them down a little bit. All right, so I've got all the elements painted and ready to go. It's just time to kind of arrange everything. This is the best part, but it can be frustrating sometimes if I if I can't really decide where things should go or find a result that I like. It can take me a while. For this one, thankfully, it didn't take me too long. Now I'm adding some extra chipboard to the back of the photos to help them pop off from the canvas a little bit, to give it a little more depth. That one picture needed to be up a little bit higher than the other photo, so that's why I added another piece to the back of that one. So I've got lots of gears. I've got screw heads, some Phillips heads, and flathead screws. Lots of mechanical elements. And once again, I'm using gel medium. I'm touching the photo a lot in these projects, but I go back once everything's dry and clean the photos to make sure I don't leave lots of fingerprints behind. So I wanted to add some patina to the edges of the photos, the same as I do with the gears. So I'm just starting with the dark brown and then the rust paste, the brass patina, and the teal patina. I do get a little bit on the photos, but I think it adds to the idea that these are photos that have kind of rusted over time. Especially with the rust paste, the gritty one. I add a lot to certain areas of the edge of the photos and kind of blend it with the gears underneath so that they almost combine together. It's really cool. It's so fun when you find something that works really well. It just makes pieces so fun to work on. Okay, so for the finishing touches, I'm adding a few little elements to the all over the canvas. The first are these purple micro beads. And these are great. The easiest way to put these onto the canvas, I think, is to dip your brush into the gel medium and then dip it into the micro beads. That's the easiest way that I've found. And then you can spread them wherever because they're covered in gel medium. But the gel medium dries clear, so you don't have to worry about it. So I just pile these into little corners and little crevices, and they're a really fun effect. And I got these. I have to apologize because I don't know where you can find these. I got these like 20 years ago, so I don't know if they even have them anymore. There are similar things though. Finnabair has like little pebbles and things that you can add. I also added, I don't show it here, um, but I added some little mini chipboard stars all over, very tiny. You should be able to see them in the pictures coming up, but just all those little finishing touches. I love mixed media canvases because of all those little elements that combine to make one cohesive canvas, and it's just so much fun to work on. I hope you enjoyed this piece. I hope you love it as much as I do. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.